Have there been any people, figures, or maybe even pieces of music that in your past that you feel like really changed direction for you in terms of your career, or helped you solidify that direction?
No, these are pieces that you're asking, pieces that I listen to that
Or maybe
changed
individuals, maybe teachers.
well, very much individuals, people who were mentors. I can name a few. One was Milton Salkin in San Francisco, as head of the conservatory. He was the person who really steered me in a direction of being a pianist composer, and it was a tremendously, like a father figure of a person. Peter Feuchtwanger in London, another professor who I worked with for 10 years, who was a disciple of the Liszt. Well, he had himself studied with Clara Haskell, Walter Gieseking, and Evan Fischer, which put him in a lineage of Liszt and Beethoven, Mozart, and Haydn. These were tremendous influences on me. Yeah. So I would say that these, also Ruth Nye in London and Vlado Promoter in Paris. Vlado Promoter was a disciple. Well, he was Ravel's assistant, Maurice Ravel's assistant, and also he studied with Courteau. Courteau is a great pianist that was at his peak, say, from the beginning to the mid 20th century, who was himself a grand student, if you will, of Chopin, and but this whole French this is all a very Parisian lineage, and Ravel was a student of Fauré, who was a student of Saint-Saëns. So I specialized in Saint-Saëns. In fact, I'm performing a piece of Saint-Saëns that was he had written for the Paris Conservatoire as a competition piece, and I was the first pianist to make a solo recording of Saint-Saëns piano works, which is interesting because I was digging up previously unperformed works as well and performing them in London, and that's something that I really got into, was taking and championing second composers. It's easy to champion Chopin because it's a very especially this year, 200th anniversary.
Right.
But it's all the unsung heroes that were behind the scenes that may have influenced Chopin, for instance, that are very interesting to study. Number one is Bach and Mozart. I mean, Chopin very rarely taught his own works. He preferred to study other people's works, and I'm the same way. I study Chopin, or I study Chopin and Rachmaninoff, but I'll also study a lot of Bach. In fact, so in the evening tomorrow, the preview, which is part of the concert, I'll take Bach and show the audience how to improvise on Bach and I think that's important for a composer to be able to improvise on Bach particularly.
That's fascinating. That's how you approach your process.
Absolutely,
so
yes.
That's great to demonstrate that to the audience.
And so did the other composers. The other major composers studied Bach. He always was a grandfather, like the godfather of all music, and so it's really important for people to realize that that these composers we look back on in history, they were great improvisers, they were great teachers, they were great performers as well as being composers, and they did study the lineage behind them. So an idea of someone just arriving and just playing all new music has nothing to do with anything. Is not necessarily building on the great tradition that we have in our culture.
Now, what would you recommend to a young composer, perhaps not 6 years old, but maybe 16, who wants to pursue this career? What were the best things that you did, and maybe what were some mistakes that you recommend that they avoid?
Well, I think the most important thing is study the piano, and through that you'll be able to study all the other composers. If you can play all the other music, then you can access all of their genius. And first is to admire and understand how important those people are before you start thinking too highly of yourself. and really study the classics. The other thing is that if there was an area which needs to be given thought, is that to really understand what's going on behind the theory of the music that you're playing, and not be playing by rote, and to really ask questions at every single note. Why did the composer use this note? Why did he compose with this? Why did he decide to write this? What else could he have written, and why didn't that work? And why did he make these choices? And when you start to ask these questions as a performer, then you're in a position to start composing.
That's wonderful. And I also kind of to follow on the heels of that, we both know how important the online media is nowadays to pursuing your career and to promoting it. What do you think about what we're doing with iCadenza in terms of helping artists get their names out there? And what would you recommend to young artists?
Absolutely fantastic what you're doing. Absolutely fantastic. You know, we are living in the 21st century, and this is what it's about. You know, the whole experience of concert giving is changing now, and you know, an event like that's taking place here is very much something that can be podcast around the world, and can reach 500 million people or 1 billion people. You don't have to appear in a large concert hall, and so music making the way it happened in the 19th century can now become a reality online, and I think this opens up a really intimate understanding of just the way we are communicating here. To think that can be done with these with the other performers up close and personal. That's really a fantastic opportunity for us to advance our culture. So I totally applaud what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
It's great. It's great, and I'm glad you're at the cutting edge of that. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bravo.
Well, we wish you the best of luck in China and beyond, and we're looking forward to following the rest of, you know, your career has been around for a long time, but we're looking forward to seeing what you do next.
Well, that's very exciting, and thank you very much for having me at iCadenza. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
All right.